सबको
नहीं इधर आइए।
Where's Pushan?
दीदी
क्या हाल चाल है?
वही काम चल How are you? How wonderful. You look splendid. चलो कॉफी आओ. Let's get on with it.
दीप्ति मैम एक फोटो कर लेते हैं साथ में।
Pushan,
सर आइए ना, आप भी आइए।
Pushan come. Oh, इधर आओ.
दूर हो गए।
You should.
हाँ
एक सेकंड.
जी जी।
यार.
भूषण सर, ऑल ऑफ यू हियर, सिट अप। भूषण जी
यार. चश्मे पहन लूं? चलेगा?
पहन लीजिए।
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm not used to it because it's, you know, these guys are, and this is trigger for everybody. So you take this.
रजित सर एक आपका सोलो।
This should get the t-shirt.
थोड़ा यहाँ पर। यस।
Oh, look, there's a mama Rajit.
पीछे आ रही है। सारा कर रही है। रजित सर यहाँ पर। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
दीप्ति मैम एक आपका सोलो पीछे थोड़ा एक स्टेप आगे।
No, I prefer. Okay, thank you.
या मैम
Photo bombing. I'm sorry, I'm also photo bombing.
दीप्ति मैम
मुझे नहीं पता क्या यूज़ है.
मैं पे राइट में। Thank you, ma'am.
So
दो करेंगे
Knowledge again, not so. I'm sure of that.
Not enough for this room. To my friends from media, thank you for being here. My name is Stuti. Super thrilled to be moderating this conversation. We, of course, all of us are here for the trailer launch of Goldfish. I had the privilege to watch this film, which is why I have lots of questions that I want to ask my panelists here, starting with, why do you have a face palm? You should be happy and beaming. He, of course, is Pushan Kripalani, the writer and director.
He's the goldfish.
He's the goldfish. And this is a very sensitively told film. At the core of it is a mother-daughter relationship. I'm not going to reveal much, but it has lots of layers. And we're going to unpeel, and details should bleed out a little bit. And so I also have Dilshad Khurana here. She's the head counselor with Empower Minds. Thank you. They're going to give us a different perspective and tell us all the other nuances that this film has. And here on my left are two amazing stars. So Deepti ji, you don't need an introduction. We all are fans. You know, whatever role you've been given, we've just been enthralled by your performance. And
Even I'm a fan.
it goes without saying, but here, this was a very tough role, and you've done it so sensitively. Thank you for being here. It was a lovely performance. And Mr. Rajit Kapur, you again, he has such an endearing role here in this film. I can't wait for all of you to watch it. But again, you were brilliant like you always are. And I said, for me, you go back to Venkatesh Bakshi. Okay, so last 5 minutes, I'll open it up for all of you. If you have any questions, note it down and remind me, and I'll make sure you get to ask your question. But till that time, I have them to myself, and I'm going to start with the writer-director. Please take this as a compliment when I say, is this autobiographical? Because just the intensity with which you've shown and dealt with something like mental health, aging parents, the dilemma of caregivers. How do you know it so well? What was the trigger to write this story, and what happened before you actually put pen to paper?
I can address this question in two parts.
Mike.
Oh, right, sorry,
of course.
we forgot.
Yes.
Yes, but it is partly personal and autobiographical. It actually, writing the film started from the final scene that you see in the picture. It's a little exchange between my grandmother and me. But everything else is imagined, and the conflicts are universal but imagined. However, writing the fact that it's people talk about dementia and it's based around that idea is simply the engine that drives the picture. It isn't actually the reason for the picture to be. The reason for the picture to be is the mother-daughter conflict and the resolutions that we attempt to arrive at, which are basically forgiveness, I think, and understanding.
And acceptance.
Acceptance, yes. Anger, denial, etc. All of this, and so I thought it would be relatable, because if you chuck a stone in this room with all these lovely people, I don't think anybody has been unaffected by it. And it's going to be, I think, one of the greatest health crises we're going to see in the coming years. I know that you deal with this almost at a daily basis, and I don't know anybody who hasn't met somebody or been affected by what is essentially a loss of self. And so the idea of this picture was to find a self in other people, as if in some ways you are entrusting that which is you to a village, almost, and other people. So your identity lives with other people. That's a long and rambling answer to a short question. My apologies. It's been a long time since I've spoken about this. And it means much. And interestingly, it means much to people who watch it, which is more important to me. I hope that helps.
Of course it does. And to set context to this this conversation, I would now like to bring in Dilshad. Dilshad, films have had a huge impact on on society in general. It tells us what's cool, what's trending. It helps us question the norms, question our own biases and prejudices. So films and filmmakers who have a voice and who want to say something, it becomes all the more important to champion such films and to celebrate such films. You are a mental health counselor, professional, and you've been dealing with this. When you watched the film, were there instances where you felt, oh my God, that's eerily real, I've dealt with situations like this?
So I actually haven't, unfortunately, had the privilege of watching this film, but I've scored myself an invite on the 25th, so I'm going to watch it soon.
But I want to tell you, it is a lot about what you deal with, about the awareness that Empower wants to spread.
Yes. So, coming to the first part of your question, yes, films, I think, as we're growing up and even later on, I think apart from our parents and siblings, I think films are the next big influence in all our lives, whether you are a movie buff or not, I mean, you can't escape it, and that's great. So I think hence, we need more films like this that talk about mental health, because sadly, so mental health, even though it's so prevalent and more so now post the COVID pandemic, people are still so afraid of talking about it, and rich, poor, young, old, doesn't matter. Everyone's still very mental equals to mad, that is still the number one thing that comes to your head, which is so unfortunate because it's so much more than that. So I think, yes, films really do need to talk more about it and encourage people to talk more about mental health issues, and of course then through that seek help. So, good job.
It's them.
It of course is them, and now coming to them. Deepti ji, I was reading one of your interviews and you said as an actor you always were looking forward to a role that changed something within you, and this role, this film did that. Please talk to us a little about what you felt when you were portraying the character.
I was, I must say that it took me back to my mother's condition a lot. I saw her very closely. I was able to spend time with her in her later years when she was suffering from dementia as well as Alzheimer's. So in one sentence, when Rajit over the phone told me what the film is about and said that Pushan Kripalani is directing, he's Jen's son, and it's a mother-daughter story. Kalki's doing it, and who is this woman? She's this woman who is also suffering, who is mainly suffering from dementia. I think immediately I said, I'll do it. And I didn't ask for the script. I said, "वो तो आता रहेगा, ठीक है." But the team is right. I get the sense that, you know, things are in the right place somehow to begin with. And then when Pushan narrated the script to me, we were going over the script and we were discussing things. At that time, I think I was too close. I was just thinking of Mama all the time. You know, I had to step back a little. He helped me with that. To step back a little bit and then approach it like an actor would, not get totally consumed by the fact that. So it was, it was cathartic for me. It was difficult, but it was. It gave me the opportunity what I was waiting for. I wanted to do a layered play, something which is layered, which is definitely which is intense. It wasn't meant to be maybe that intense a film. They wanted it to be lighter, but no way. But something intense, something layered, something complex. Little complex also. It's no fun playing a straight mom. अच्छी सी होती है जो माँ होती है हिंदी सिनेमा में. तो वो नहीं था, तो I was very excited, super excited. So that's how I approach it.
That's a lovely thing you said. In fact, you gave me a segue. This cinema, filmon ki maa. We've also made a trope, and you, of course, here you've done a phenomenal job. Rajit ji, coming to you. A very, very endearing character, and this film is as much in its dialogues, conversations, as it is in its silences. And with just brewing tea, you conveyed so much. How was it? What won you over about this script first? Because you're the one who called her and convinced her.
I think when Pushan was writing it only, he told me, I've already written a role for you and you have to do it. So that was already decided beforehand. So there was no question of not doing it. But the important thing was, as we were talking about it, the silent presence and the silent support is the way I looked at this character. So there may not be much to say, but in these kind of relationships, and when we are talking about mental health, that kind of support, which somewhere there is there, behind you. एक होता है ना पीठ थपथपाने के लिए कोई है.
Companionship, friendship.
Yeah, and it's there. You don't say it, but it's there. And that's the kind of presence I think this character kind of translates into on screen. He's almost like a catalyst, and as yesterday we were talking about it, and she said he's kind of the silent lover, but there's so much more to him, just being that love is more compassion. That embodies itself through these scenes, particularly, as you say, in the silences, with both the women. So in that sense, I've been part of this project while he was writing it only. So, isn't it?
True.
Yeah.
Pushan, you want to talk about the omelette making and the tea brewing?
Sure. Yeah. Raju's very good at silences. Not in life. but on camera, he embodies it. There are some people who know how to inhabit a close-up without shouting about it. He and Deepti ji both understand the reductive power of the close-up very, very well. It's where a wink is a shout, and they understand what that is, and they understand that a tilt of the head, when you put it in an edit, means something, right? And that was incredible. And actually, if you have people that you have ended up casting, when Arya and I were writing the film, that's my co-writer and I, writing the film, there was no other person who could play that part, absolutely. Because we felt supported by him even in the theatre and in life through our lives. So we know that the man who has his hand on the small of your back going up the stairs is going to be Rajit. That's easy. But what is also easy is if you cast it right. If you cast it right, it becomes almost boring to direct. Because what you have to do is basically offer them something, create an environment, which Amit sitting at the back was very good at doing, and let them be the best version of their performative selves. That's all you have to do. You have to offer a text, you have to offer a situation, and offer safety. And then they play. And we are here to watch that. That is why we are here. So it's kind of really easy.
No, that's very well put, and for those of you who haven't seen the film, of course they're brilliant, but I think every role has been written so nicely, every individual has their own thread that runs beautifully, and you kind of are rooting for everyone. One of the things that really moved me about this film, dementia is a debilitating condition, not just for the person who has it, but more so for those around them, because they keep seeing the person they knew wither away slowly every minute. And here, what's really beautiful is the community, the sense of community, that we see in certain scenes. COVID is also a backdrop, and I think that was also the time when all of us, those in the room, understood what it meant to truly feel alone at times, or helpless, or not know what the future holds. How do you process? You've all gone through that. We're in a way it lingers somewhere, and to then do a film like this. How did you comprehend that? I could probably start with you and.
I don't know where to begin, because suddenly when you started mentioning COVID and pandemic, I went, it was rewind. And then I thought of, 11 days of quarantine which had to be done. We had to shoot at this time. We had already postponed the shooting of the film once. It was to be in the month of January. We couldn't travel. We pushed it to June. And then I remember having a conference call with Amit and Pushan, and we said, now if we don't do it, it will never happen.
Yeah.
Or it may not happen. We have to do it. These are the dates now, quarantine or no quarantine. And in my case, I was quarantined for 11 days and then worked for 8 days. Then I came back. So my quarantine period was longer than my shooting period. The two women were also there, but they also had to go through the whole quarantine process. But I think on a general or a larger level, the pandemic definitely taught me about priorities. At least the focus of what is more important. Health, mental health definitely became a priority that, we take it for granted. It's like sometimes how we just take electricity for granted today. And then you're suddenly without electricity for a day and you're panicking. Because you just don't think about it. And I think the COVID made us think about health, mental health.
True.
Deepti ji, if you would want to add to that. No? I want to bring you into the discussion, because I'm sure during those months of COVID and even now you're still dealing with the aftermath. How has it been as a mental health professional? You must have been just unable
Tough
to.
days.
Yes, tough days.
So actually, COVID, when it happened in March, right? And in April we launched our helpline. So the government of Maharashtra approached us and expedited our already in process plan of starting this helpline, and we started this 24/7 helpline, which was actually supposed to be just for Maharashtra, but I think word spread and became a nationwide helpline organically. And I remember we started in April 2020, and that month itself we got 35,000 calls. Yeah. And I managed the helpline, but I myself had to then, start taking calls, and it was crazy. I mean, I can't begin to tell you. It was all sorts of people calling saying that they have lost their employment overnight, they've lost their businesses overnight, they're stranded. It still gives me goosebumps. See? They're away from their families, all sorts of things, and it was heart-wrenching. I mean, we're as professionals, we're a little detached and objective, but how can and these were like back-to-back also. So the helpline was launched, and we were inundated with calls. So it was quite, and that lasted for a good 2 years, because then we had the second wave, but there was a whole lot of grief that was being talked about. So yeah, I'm just glad that we were there, like a small part, but we were there to help out. So it was pretty crazy.
And also why it's important to watch films like Goldfish, which deal with a subject which is still taboo, because we still don't want to openly say that, oh, I went to a shrink or I went to a therapist, because you're okay going to a physician, but somehow mental health or talking about it openly is always tough. And are we ready for the Goldfish trailer?
It's so funny that after I did Goldfish, I did another film called Pigeon, and that is also and that's also dealing with issues of mental health in a way, very surreal.
What is this connection?
Well, the pandemic is very weird, because the pandemic did something strange. Because we all went through it. I think I'm right in saying this. I don't know. You guys are professionals, but because everybody went through it, there's some sort of disconnect between the individual experience, just because the whole planet went through it. But each trauma is individual. Each pain is solo. Do you know what I mean? And just because it happened, it's like a nuclear explosion. It doesn't matter that it happened to 140,000 people. The fact is, you have lost X, you have lost Y, you have lost Z. It's an individual problem, and your mental acumen or acuity dealing with this is entirely personal. So this is a global event, and this really tiny thing that happens to you, which is earth-shaking. That's kind of what the picture is about, in my limited opinion.
But
Dementia is the engine.
Yeah.
The community is the force that helps. The problem, although cultural, is individual.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me. So that's what the film is about in some ways. The dementia is just the driving force of it. But it's that personality and that personality and that personality, those individuals that gather to create this whole that we have attempted to do here.
But what she was saying, about somebody losing everything, I didn't realize it until I started working after Goldfish on Pigeon. I said, it's bizarre, very funny script. And then Bugs, who's my director, says, you know how much of pain there is in it? And that is such an underlying layer of these two individuals whom the film is about, because they gradually lose everything.
So you're only going to do animal-based films?
To do, you offer Goldfish, then I get Pigeon, now tomorrow somebody will offer my monkey.
What is the connection of animal and COVID?
There seems to be some connection, I don't know. Maybe the animals are better off than we were.
Damn straight.
No, dolphins were definitely happy with humans. So I think, are we ready for the trailer?
Shall we step out of the way? Let me see.
Yes.
Let's do that.
We're just waiting.